Hey guys, my name is Lexi Mitchell. Thank you for tuning in to my Adaptive Challenge presentation. We'll be talking about over-reliance of social media. Now, you ask what an adaptive challenge is. It is any challenge that can't be solved with one solution. It's usually conflicting values, beliefs, or morals. While there are 73% of the U.S. adults that are using social media networks, I've read an article called Benefits and Distractions of Social Media as a Tool for Undergrad Students Learning by Emily Edrick. She said on social media is changing the way that we communicate with others, from close by peers to individuals who share their interests around the world. In fact, Mark Z, the original creator of Facebook, said that his original intentions were to try to make sure that it is really efficient for people to communicate and get information and share information. Most can agree that the original purpose for social media is connection and communication. However, with the advancements of media, there are further complications than usual. The biggest one is learning on demand. People have a bad, habit of wanting to learn things like quickly or very quick access to the internet. And the three main reasons students access the internet is to, one, address a problem at work, deal with something at school, or satisfy our curiosity. So why is this an adaptive challenge and not a technical challenge? Many people rely on social media entirely too much, and people reduce the time they spend on social media and the progression with the long period of time. Since the controversial topic, it makes many solutions to solve this issue. There are advantages and disadvantages in integrating social media into the context of education and learning, and let's find out. First, you have to diagnose the situation. You have to learn how to process and break down any situation with new risks. First, they ask what elements, perspectives, or viewpoints could be articulated by your challenge. One is cognitive element. 54% felt that the teachers would be shocked if they knew how much texting was going on during class. Now, why is that important? Texting is a distraction with students the ability for self-regulation, which affects the cognitive learning abilities and necessary for processing information, which includes attention, working memory, short-term and long-term memory, and losing capacity with other areas and impacts. So in another article, I read about how there are harmful things to social media and, beneficial things to social media. And they state in investigating motives underlying harmful social behaviors and motivational natural of social norms by Emmett C. He states that the consequences of one action can be evaluated or weighted very differently depending on one's perspective. So some harmful things that social media has: one, stress. It lowers grades. It can spread false or unreliable information. It lacks privacy. Tends to be less face-to-face reaction, waste time, being unproductive, or promotes inappropriate behaviors such as drugs, crimes, and sexual tendencies. So the social media benefits can be social networking, spreading information, helpful tools for schooling, improve or build new relationships, reduce health risks, increase participation, or find quick access to information. So while you're trying to diagnose the situation, you come up with different ways to think about the situation. So from an education system perspective, teaching proper usage of technology in school is very vital to the school and curriculum because it is updating our familiarity with social media. Then you have the perspective with children, people mainly college age. They tend to use social media as a rapid affecting the new generation, and the content the students come across can influence their development. Looking for the parents' perspective is over-reliance of social media can affect the parenting style. In order to monitor a student, it starts with the parenting. So we have to make sure that the parents are watching how their students are reacting on social media. Last but not least, you have the media and the future careers. So higher education should teach students how to utilize the technology and media to reflect in their future careers, such as teaching, being a doctor, lawyer, anything. Like, you should know how to use media with your profession. And we have to explore some tough interpretations. Mental health is a big one. When investigating the motives, reading the article investigating the motives underlying harmful social behaviors and emotional nature of social norms, MSC explains, our findings indicate the social groups and norms they promote are associated with higher frequency of harmful behaviors and also greater internalization of these behaviors. So a lot of these behaviors are internal behaviors, internal issues that people are going to, but the social media has a direct impact with a lot of studies show, especially from social media addiction, its impact and mediation of intervention by L. Songs. He states that social media addiction has been found to be associated with a loss of emotional, rational health, and performance problems. Studies have shown that the symptoms of social media addiction can manifest the mood for 12% of the population. A big factor in that is self-esteem. The current research have revealed the negative associations between social media addiction in college students and mental health and academic performance. The role of self-esteem is underlying the mechanism for relation between social media addiction and mental health. So in other words, more people are becoming depressed or like feeling attacked when they use these social media networks, and it can, slowly turn into, low self-esteem, further to mental health or suicide. Another perspective from this is careers. With every adaptive challenge, there will be many solutions, and not all solutions will be solve all issues. Therefore, it is important to look at how too much reliance on social media can be harmful or beneficial. For example, sometimes people might struggle with face-to-face interaction. People don't know how, you got introverts. People don't know how to speak in a public setting. And this can improve their relationship with others across, the country or just down the street. Like if you're an introvert, you might need this, scapegoat or gateway to talk about what you want to talk about. Then you have to manage yourself. So you have to find ourselves doing things different ways. We might intend because of the affordance of the media and how others around us are using it. We use these technologies and they also use us. So in this article I read, How We Are Used by Social Media in Education by Barbells, he says the participation in social media is a mechanism for expanding one's reputation, increasing visibility and influence, and promoting one's scholarly work. So you have to think about how this challenge will resonate with yourself and how it can affect this, And social media, potential advantages or disadvantages of social media and individuals are very intriguing. When conducting research, I realized that I am not the best with technology. Like, I am not, with all the new technology advancements. And when I become an educator, I do want to be, updated with those technologies and properly choose or teach people how to use these technologies or media as a whole. So I will incorporate appropriate behaviors and uses for media with my curriculum to help students become more familiar with media. Media usage has nearly tripled within the last 10 years, and students should become more familiar with media to compete with future careers. What are the competing values? As a young adult, many people are obsessed with social media usage and the connections and spread of their values, conflicting with the values with either religion or political views. And then once you figured out how to manage these problems within yourself, you then have to learn how to project it with others. Research has shown that self-determined behaviors are more resistant to change and more likely to persist over time. So how are others engaging unusual voices? What better way to prove or improve information with the youth about proper ways to utilize media than teaching it through schools? Requiring at least one technology and media class in high school or college can improve media within the modern day society. So how are we working past factions upon this? By trying to incorporate a required class for this proper use of media and media advances tailored to individuals' futures, careers through schooling, it ensures that this information will not be biased, such as when you're trying to teach religion, they don't just teach that one religion, they teach all religions so people can understand where they're coming from. How are these inspiring collective purposes? In an article I read exploring the benefits of social media towards knowledge sharing among doctors, these doctors say that no doubt social media has eased sharing of knowledge, but some of them have complained regarding the information overload and disturbance in personal lives. So while there can be challenges such as privacy, confidentiality, credibility, interaction qualities, information overload, lacks of internet access, the suggestions these doctors provide was elimination of unnecessary data, content clarity. So when people are, expressing their opinions or anything on social media, they can back it up with how they feel. Visual contents, people respond to visual or video footage way different than they respond to texting or, just relying on information. And then the proper management of social media groups. The doctors say that professional usage is better than voluntary usage. And the outcome of the studies demonstrates that sharing a common language or viewpoint can connect others and is important to substantial life and media. Last but not least, we have to intervene skillfully. So how can we make sure that this adaptive challenge is going towards progress? People have to speak from the heart. Once something has happened to somebody or it's affected by somebody, such as more than 75% of America's population is on social media, and when people can relate this problem, then they often tend to focus and listen in and advocate for the topic more and explain how media is slowly becoming independent and people are realizing how it can, harm us or damage us, for example, with mental health and depression. So how are we giving others back to work? In the article I read, Clues from Digital World, a survey by the client's reliance on social media as collateral damage. They explain how people are already trying to reduce the usage of social media, and applying these practices within schools. Curriculums can ensure that students are improving these technology and media skills and providing resources for the future career. Give an opportunity for productivity and social media, which is what we need. Hoffman states in Benefits and Pitfalls, some guidelines for the use of social networking tools in K-12 education. The same benefits can turn into pitfalls if left unchecked. At ease, speed, convenience of widespread access and distribution of content can be very unsettling. So we have to be persistent and search abilities of content. We have to replicate, manipulate in the content to create the framework in which underage children are at risk. The last article I read tied it into my point that media is not a bad scapegoat, but it is. We are having a lot of over-reliance on media, and once people are aware of the proper usages or appropriate behaviors to do on media, then it should be less of a problem, less mental health, less depression, other things like that, anxiety. And Steer specifically says the future of learning is social. People want to learn together. Among all about social media, what can be accomplished, some learning and development professionals already have taken action. So testing how different tools are being added can value to learning. In conclusion, how do you recommend to help make progress? Social media is a powerful tool. It can be used for personal marketing, reputation, anything along those lines. But social medias help us protect our identities and purposes from far-flung fields of interconnection and influence. But the farther away from us affects us are felt. The harder it is to anticipate or control what those events might be. So schools should be required to teach one class incorporating technology and teaching how media can affect the economically if used properly. Teachers should advocate for students to incorporate media for informations and connections within school all the time, and everyone should be accountable for monitoring the amount of time they are using social media. It can rapidly become a distraction and allow us to be unproductive for hours. So technology has been in our environment, and it is increasingly being in our environment, and we should just, implement it into the education environment so it can be properly used. Thank you for tuning into my project.